Another day, another Ranger review. All right, so let's jump into episode 4, Return of the Caveman, which is one of my favorite episodes if I'm remembering correctly, because I haven't seen these in a long time, but I remember enjoying filming this episode and I remember liking the episode. So I'm going off of my past experience to back up my present experience, which will then be a past experience by the time you watch this. Anyway, that's pretty meta and Inception-like. Let's just start the episode. We're back in the cave, which is basically connected to where we filmed anyway, where he filmed this. So this is still filmed at the studio, our main base camp, even though this is back in time when he first finds his energem. So they just rearranged the rocks around. So these are, a lot of them, similar rocks to what I went down into the area where I found my energem. Now this is different. This is a green screen, obviously. That's a real saber-tooth tiger. Just kidding. So this is Koda's brother, Taku, about to get eaten by a super realistic saber-tooth tiger. And then falling. Bye-bye. So again, green screen, falling. It's just him on a wire, and I believe a fan blowing his hair, or blowing this way. And then he just kind of does this as he falls. So again, Yoshi hogging all the shirtless scenes, jerk. And him, saber-tooth, it's just a motorcycle thing. Later on in an episode, that falls on me, and it hit my arm, and my elbow turned purple for like 2 weeks. It hurts.
A squiz. A look?
Yeah, so James actually said a lot of things like a squiz. In New Zealand, they have a lot of sayings that seem a little alien to where I'm from and where a lot of us are from, like unco. Do you know what unco means? It means you're uncoordinated, apparently. And there's other things, too, that he says, like far out, and what are the other ones? Sweet as, A-S, not the other word, but it just means like cool or like awesome. Like, oh, sweet as. So again, when we all heard that the first time, we're like, what did you say? So yeah, it's funny. And yes, that's Yoshi's real hair in this. So days on set in the base could be really fun, but also really slow depending, for whatever reason, it just felt like those were the longest scenes because the directors of those episodes, I don't know why, but like it just seemed like the setup, they wanted specific ways, and so we just spent so many hours filming like back and forth and like following one actor and then the other and then their scenes and theirs. And if you didn't have a lot of lines, like I don't think I spoke other than a squiz, so I was just kind of like standing there most of the time, so it wasn't overly exciting. You can still act without speaking, obviously. Acting isn't just saying words, but sometimes you just feel like you're glorified, like fly on the wall status, just kind of chilling, and you are, but that's okay. But between setups, Yoshi and I and James joined us a lot too. We would work out and do push-ups. So we'd get a little sweaty and we'd get in trouble with makeup for getting our makeup all messed up and our hair messed up with hair. But we had to work out because we had such long days sometimes. We still wanted to get our fitness in. And by the time we got home, we were so tired we didn't get full workouts unless we brought some of the workout to set. So we'd mix it up. James actually had a skateboard teacher, instructor that they brought on. He was his double for the skateboarding stuff when it got pretty intense, but he also would teach James. That was a double for Yoshi. Yes, Yoshi could actually do that, but so this is a cool park. I believe this is the same place where in Dino Supercharged, when we're under the effects of that sun monster that makes us like all feel like we're on summer vacation, we're eating ice cream cones. And they have a cool like festival with lanterns in New Zealand. I forgot what month, but at some point in this park as well. Yeah, I really like this episode. It just humanizes Koda, and you can kind of just jump into it and be like, oh, he's a caveman, that's weird, but it actually shows how hard it would be for someone from a different time to fit in. And he struggles, you can tell in his speech. He can't speak perfect English, he doesn't understand our customs, but he's learning, and he has friends that help. It's really nice when you get to work on a set where you truly like the other cast members, because we got along. So, little things like wiping dirt off of each other. Like, you can do that even if you don't like each other, but it just makes it so much more natural when your characters get along and then you actually get along too. So Yoshi gets a civilian fight, and by civilian fight, that's kind of what we just coin it. That was a kick the moon, I believe, that Yoshi just did, like a cheat gainer. So they let us do a lot of our skills. But what I was saying, civilian fights is when we're not morphed. They know Yoshi was a stuntman before Power Rangers, so they let him go a little harder than they would traditionally for an actor. That was with the wire. But I believe that might have been Yoshi too, because he brought his own harness to New Zealand for stunts. So I believe this is still back in the main base camp where they're filming right now. But in the show, it's at the beach. So Bethel's Beach is where we filmed the exterior of the shot. So again, they disconnect two physical locations and make it look like they're the same place. But for this place that we end up at Bethel's, it's the same place I mentioned if you watch the first Ranger review, where we were in the forest near a beach. This is a beach we were near. So you could literally jog from that first place where Shelby and I fought Ice Age the first time and bonded to our energems, and you go over this hill and like down this ravine, and you end up at the beach that they're at right now. That's the exterior of this shot. Look at those veins. Yoshi's been working out. We actually all worked out because we lived together for season 1. Season 2, some of us moved out, but in the beginning, it was James, Yoshi, myself, Claire, and Camille all living in the same house, which is a lot of people, and Michael, yeah, a lot of people living in one house, especially when you're on set all day for like 12 to 16 hours, and you go home and you see each other. Even if you like each other, that's a lot of time. I don't recommend that, but we got along, but it was just so much time. You're like, hey, see you at work. Hey, see you at home. But we worked out together because of it. So when we had the energy to work out at home, we set up like a circuit. So I actually was kind of in charge of that part because I was studying kinesiology at the time. I have my degree now, but I didn't then. So I set up like a circuit for all of us, and we'd all do the workouts. So this is actually the museum again. Now this is not the museum. This is how they put them together. So this is back at the location of our studio, but where Claire just walked through was physically the real museum for that one part. So even though you can see outside of the dinosaur's mouth, that's just a hallway exterior that's made to match what the museum actually looks like. But the museum wasn't physically, geographically that close, so we couldn't go back and forth that easily. And plus it's expensive to rent out a museum, and we usually had to shoot at the museum at night when they closed. Actually, we shot at the museum one day when it was my birthday. I turned an age older there.
You beat death one more year.
I did, and I'll do it again. So again, this is a very emotional episode. Yoshi, as far as he knows, like he protected his brother Taku, or Koda knows, not Yoshi, but Taku at this point would have been long gone because, however many millions of years passed. So he's connecting to Peter like it's his brother. That'd actually be difficult, climbing up a cliff with one hand with someone on your back. So again, I talked about this, how we shot it. It's in a tent where they show the light over your eyes. These are doubles riding around. I believe they're different doubles even than our normal doubles that are specifically skilled on bikes or motocross or motorcycles.
I'm picking up a magnetic field. Do you see it?
I see it too.
So I guess there's supposed to be a button there on the helmet. There's not. So again, nothing's there when they're looking at this. There is no 3D picture. They're just staring at a blank thing with an X for tape, for eyeline, or maybe just the tennis ball again. It's such a cool episode. I'm glad that Yoshi got this episode because he did so much, because he knew a lot about Power Rangers. Power Rangers was actually one of the shows he watched to help teach himself English because he's from Indonesia. And so he would watch Power Rangers and he started learning English. And then he learned a lot of the martial arts stuff from YouTube videos, and then he got involved in stunts. So this is the beach. I like the beach. Yeah, Bethel's. So this is an amazing place. So this is on location. I know I just jumped topics, but the scene changed and I wanted to now switch. Anyway, I was saying Yoshi knows a lot of stunt stuff from being a stuntman before Power Rangers, and he would help us with our poses too for fighting, because even though I've been trained in martial arts, real fighting posing is different than like cinema posing a lot. So, one, you cover your face, the other, you keep your face open so camera could see you better. It was freezing this day, I remember. We were so cold, and Yoshi was freezing because, as you can see, he has like no shirt on, and I think he just has his sandals and standing in the water. So he'd go run in the cave and like try to warm up in between takes. Even though I've only said like 3 lines in the episode, but if you notice that in Power Rangers, since there's so many of us, and especially in this season, there ends up being 10 of us, you can't have all of us have a ton of lines every episode because they're only 20-something minutes. A third to a half is in suit plus Megazord battles. So they focus on like 1 or 2 Rangers usually per episode. So obviously this would be Koda's episode. So he gets most of the talking. And then we're just kind of there to back him up. And of course they reuse the morph sequence. We don't refilm it every time. So however our hair was that one time is how it is every time. Power Ranger Red. So Yoshi came in knowing all of these different poses, like, before we even started filming. So he would just do them occasionally in the backgrounds between takes too. Another thing you can tell if if this is Japanese footage or American footage, the suits become shinier, like they're more shimmery when it's the Japanese suits, because they remade suits for the New Zealand takes. So the background change, if you notice, it's not the beach anymore, so this is now Japanese footage, and the suits are shiny. Ouch. I mean, those are fake barrels that he's hitting, but still, it just looks painful. So some wire work, nice. And all that stuff they're hitting is soft, it's not actual metal. So that's a gainer, and then an extra backflip magic with a wire. Yeah, there's just so much fun with Power Rangers. Like, it's just it's larger than life, crazy explosions, going off of ramps for no reason, flips that don't actually help you in the fight, but they look cool. It was such a gateway for so many people into the superhero world, for me too. Like, this is what started me into loving DC Comics and Marvel and all that kind of stuff. I watched Power Rangers. You know, and as a kid, I watched it never expecting to become a Power Ranger, but it happened, and it was just crazy. Like, out of our cast, Yoshi and myself were the actual fans of Rangers. Not everyone watched Power Rangers growing up. It just wasn't, some weren't allowed to watch it, some just weren't into it. So, but actually being one, after being a fan, it'd be like if I got into a Marvel show or movie, you know, being a fan of it and then like becoming Spider-Man in an alternate Spider-Verse or something. So, I don't know, it's still weird watching this, like, oh, I'm a Power Ranger, and it's like, I mean, I know I'm not really a Power Ranger, I'm an actor who played one, but it's closer to my heart than a lot of other roles. So this is known as like stock footage, when they keep reusing footage. Like, they don't obviously reshoot the Megazord combination every time, even though this was in Japan. They just have that same footage play. So whenever we morph, it's stock footage when we're in that spandex before we morph. Wherever we are is new, like the Dino Charge Ready, that's not stock because it's original the first time we do it in the new location. But they obviously don't reshoot this. This is just stock. So again, we talked about in the last episode how the interior cockpit is all original footage now from New Zealand. So they reshot it, even though they had it in the Japanese footage, they redid it for whatever reason. But it looks cool. And I like that in our Megazord, we actually stand up and fight versus like in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where they are playing a video game essentially. I mean, it's cool, you know, and I like video games, but being able to like do it like virtual reality, that's what's in right now, right? So these are all suits. Everything just looks tiny. They're normal sized humans in normal suits. So even the Megazord is someone walking around in it. I love our Megazord, how it combines like that. So cool. So again, now they've added another space because there's more Rangers inside the Zord. So they added that extra platform for Riley. I did a handstand on mine. I posted it somewhere on Instagram, I think.
Monster extinct!
Monster extinct! So yeah, we win. Go team. I actually got to drive the car this time. Usually they don't let me, but occasionally they do. They're just like, make sure you stop, because that was like a cliff overlook. But this area was cool. Like, I actually stayed here when we had a couple days off. I rented the little cottage up here because it's so beautiful. Yeah, so this is not green screen. This is actually New Zealand. And it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I want to go back there so bad. I know people have been asking, are you going to be in Dino Fury? Not to my knowledge, but I just want to go back to New Zealand just because I love New Zealand. So maybe if I'm lucky enough to get an Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix live action, as like Sokka, and maybe they'll shoot in New Zealand, then I'll go back. So I don't know, I didn't actually sit with the writers, but I'm kicking myself. I wish I sat in more, because they gave us the opportunity to like explore different areas behind the scenes if we wanted to. And I wish I would have asked, like, so how do you come up with this? Do you like come up with like a specific, like, this is the moral of this episode? Or do you come up with the episode and then fit in a moral? So this one's like, you know, overcoming fears. You know, the last one, I don't remember because it was already a while ago, but you get what I mean. Like, there's a moral every time. And that's episode 4. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But thank you for watching again. Please subscribe if you aren't already. Share this with your friends so, you know, more subscribers means we can make more content. And also, if you want to check out the Patreon as well, that's another great way that you guys can be a part of this. And we'll show your name at the end in the credits. Thank you. Take care. And until next time, it's morphin' time!